to the Fit Dads podcast. We are delighted to welcome a man who strikes me as a lover and not a fighter, but a man I certainly wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of. He's the former British flyweight champion, a Commonwealth super-flyweight champion. He's an ambassador for the national charity Heart Research UK and has recently become a dad to a beautiful little girl. He now coaches boxing of all levels across Sheffield. Welcome to the Fit Dads podcast, Tommy Frank.
Thank you very much. That was a good intro, that. Yeah. Very good intro.
Mate, it's great to have you on. I mean, I was saying before, like, I always see you in passing at the gym.
Yeah.
And we never really get a chance to, chew the fat, do we? You know, you're always coaching, I'm always there training, so it's nice to have you here and just chat about shit, basically.
Yeah, definitely. No, thanks for having me on, boys. I've seen what you're doing, and it's good. So, yeah, it's been, I know, obviously, you gave me a shout quite a bit back. So yeah, like it's always in passing when I see you. Yeah. So this will probably be the longest conversation we've had, mate.
I think that's been already so far.
Yeah, it's sound.
Class. Yeah. Well, obviously, you know, you've done a lot, you know, and more recently. So you've become one of us, I guess, a dad. You're going through trials and tribulations. It's one of the most amazing things, but also in those first few months, because she's 3 months old now.
She's 3 months, just turned 3 months old.
You know, it's tough in those first few moments, isn't it? It's completely new, different way of life. You know, you're going from being you and your missus to now this new little life here, and it's amazing because, you know, you realise how precious this thing is, but also in terms of practicality, working, it's very hard, isn't it? Managing it all, sleep, all that kind of stuff.
Very hard, and it's like, you know, you ask, you know, when you know you've got a baby on way, obviously you talk to people and everyone advises you, don't they? Like, you know, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that, and you're trying to educate yourself before, but I think everyone's different, aren't they? I think you've just got to embrace it, and it's scary, isn't it? It's amazing. It's like the most amazing thing what's like ever happened to me, but it's scary at times.
What would you say is the scariest thing? What frightens you the most? Is it?
I'd say just you want to be a good dad, don't you?
Doing your best.
What I mean? Yeah, just doing your best, because it's not all about you anymore. It's not just about you or your missus. You've got you've literally got a human being to take care of for the rest of your life. So it's scary in that way, and it's just trying to do your best.
Nice. Brings back a lot of memories. That I remember, like, even from the moment they're born and you hold them for the first time, there's that sense of like, shit, like this is it now. This is going to be me for the next 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, looking after them.
And you know what's mad as well? Like, the weekend before she was born, I think she was born on the Wednesday. So the weekend before, like we had a C-section. Charlie had a C-section. So we were pre-booked. Yeah, we were planned. Everything went to plan. We were first on list Wednesday morning. So the weekend before, everyone was saying, this is your last weekend as a free couple, you know what I mean? If you've got a medal on this week or whatever you're doing, you go out for a meal, it's not going to be like this after for the rest of your life. So I can remember thinking then, and again, you don't take it in at time. But then from that Wednesday, you know, when she was born at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's it. Everything's changed. But
my miss was 2 weeks overdue, and I can imagine if it's planned, you kind of know what's happening. You prepare yourself as a day. There's a date that everything's going to happen. Whereas for us, it was kind of like, it'll come when it comes. And, it goes from like 0 to 100 when it happens.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the bags were packed, ready for her to go any time. You know, for like a good 2-3 week in front of that. But it was nice having it planned. And it was different. It was completely different than what I thought. It was really chunged out. Like, chunged out. Like, we went in like 6 a.m. we got there, and I don't think I weren't allowed on the ward till like 8 a.m. So we took Charlie up, left her there. I just went down and just had a coffee. This is at like 6 in the morning. I was the only one in hospital down there, and that was nerve-wracking. So that it was just me on my own. I had my headphones and stuff, and just watching a few YouTube videos and that.
How long did it last from that moment you got there to birth? What time period?
So she was born at 9:11 a.m. That's when she was born. Got there at 6, so it all happened fast. I went up to the ward to meet Charlie. She'd had a few blood tests done and stuff. Wow. And then I think we went down probably about 8:30. We went down to theatre.
Wow.
Like I say, it was just completely different than what I thought. They had like chill out music playing, like acoustic music playing in theatre. I didn't know what.
Sheffield?
It was Jessett's,
yeah.
And we just went in, and I'd heard before that, you know, they'd take Charlie in advance, and I'd have to wait while they gave her epidural and stuff, but I managed to stay with her throughout it all, which were good. So I just remember walking.
You were
in
a different ward to me, mate, because there was none of that when I walked in.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, mine was stressful, mate. She was there for 48 hours in labour, so it was, you know, you should have no idea. And I think, like, the C-section thing, they don't go through the same contractions and pain, I would imagine, either. It's just kind of you go in, slice them open, get it out, it's all done and dusted. I mean,
thing, innit?
if I was a woman, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably opt for that myself.
Yeah.
I mean, did your missus have a C-section or not?
No, we had like a natural birth at home. So when Charlie was saying like about being really chilled, it wrote planned and stuff, and like that's one thing that we said, let's just be really chill, let's play what music we want, and just I think the more chilled they are,
I think that helps, doesn't it? When there's a plan and things go to plan, it helps a lot, doesn't it? But obviously it doesn't always go that way, does it? But
no.
My hours didn't really go to plan. It were like it just dragged on, and it wouldn't. She weren't coming, and ended up having to get forceps and all sorts out and drag it out, and you know, at the end. But
I must admit though, I mean, just not a newfound respect for Charlie, my missus, but I was nervous. You know, going in, it's a big thing for a woman. I remember, and like when you're having epidural, you're just trying to stay cool, aren't you? You're trying to stay cool for them. But I was nervous, so I can't imagine what she was feeling.
You can't
show it, can you? No. But it's like I dropped all of it because they gave her is it a cannula?
Yeah.
Honestly, I was watching them. I shouldn't have been watching it, but they put this like stick thing in her about that big, and they put it. I must have looked at the wrong minute, and it was just going in, and I like turned round, and then all nurses were looking at me, and I'm thinking, if I'm showing signs here, they're gonna kick me out. They're gonna think he's no good for in here.
We've gone pale.
So but no, you know, everything went to plan. But big thing for a woman, you know. I was very proud of her. She was just cool, you know. That's how she, you know, very very laid back.
It's a tricky one, because for a woman, as soon as you get pregnant, you know that moment's coming in the future. 8 months later, you're gearing yourself. I think every month that goes by, you get a little bit more mentally prepared for it. But I get this feeling that most women, once it gets to 8 months, they kind of just want to get it over and done with.
Yeah, definitely. And just like I said, just a big thing for a woman to go through as well.
Yeah, massive. But should we get into a bit of you, mate?
Yes, mate. Why not?
It's funny, we were talking about, like, we watched like a bit of a documentary on Tommy, and I'd obviously did a bit of research as well, and as soon as I googled Tommy's name, and the first picture that comes up is him with his top up like this, showing his abs.
It is.
And the first image, I thought, he's just showing off how shredded he is, basically. And then when I kind of took a second glance, I saw you've got actually quite a big scar down the middle of your chest. And I read that you had an arterial septal defect, essentially a hole in your heart.
An hole in the heart,
At the age of 5, you had open heart surgery, and I can't imagine as a dad now what your parents must have been going through at the age of 5, watching you go through open heart surgery. But was that something what you would say kind of held you back as a kid? Was it something that kind of inspired you to be better? How did you react to that at 5 years old?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I can't remember having operation at all.
Really?
I can't remember having it. Obviously, my mum and dad, it must have been very traumatic for them. And then, like I said, becoming a dad now, it's made me realise, like, God, like what my mum and dad must have gone through.
Absolutely.
You know, so they found out that I actually had the problem when I was 2. But I was just too tiny to be operated on. So between age of 2 and 5, my mum and dad had to get me ready, because they knew I had to have this surgery at 5-year-old.
Wow.
So they had to kind of get me ready, prepare me to have this open heart surgery. So like I said, it must have been torture for them.
What was the first signs at 2 years old that you had the issue?
Yeah, they said that I think I just had like a general cold, like a chest infection. Doctor listened to my chest and he heard a heart murmur. So that were like the first things. Obviously, I went for more tests, had scans and stuff, and they discovered this hole, or probably like two or three tiny holes.
It's the worst news as a parent, that, isn't it? Finding out that your kid, you know, at 2 years old, they're a person now. Like Harlow's nearly 2, she's running around, she's talking, she's walking, she's a person. And to find out that person now has a real serious issue.
Yeah, that's right.
That, you know, in a few years' time, has to be operated on. That must have been one of the worst few years for your mum, from 2 till 5.
And you know, I think it's probably more common than what you'd think. But you see, back then, You know, so this were 25 years ago. I'm 30. This was 25 years ago. So the technology and the procedures, they've come on loads in 25 years. Whereas back then, you know, obviously it was still chest cut open, the full job lot. You know, so yeah, a big thing for obviously for me to go through, but again, I can't remember it. So in many ways, I'm probably very lucky. There's like little flash, but I think I can remember being put to sleep, I think, and I don't think I were happy about that. Because you see, my mum and dad, in the nicest way possible, they kind of had to trick me into having it done. Do you know what I mean? Really? So yeah, because you know,
they can't tell you the full extent of what's going on.
So from the age of 2 to 5, you know, they had to kind of trick me, and I think my mum's way of doing it were kind of saying, look, this is what every you know, little boy or girl has to have. They have to go through this, but it's not a big thing.
I wonder if someone told them how to break it to you, or whether they decided that's where we're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm guessing that, you know, they got a few tips from, you know, other parents or the hospital. You know, Leeds General Infirmary were brilliant. The heart ward on there are just amazing. And,
is that why you've got into so much charity work now?
I mean, they've got, as you said before, I've done work with Heart Research UK, but then in the past and now I'm doing work with the Children's Heart Surgery Fund, and they're directly connected to the heart ward on Leeds where I had my surgery.
Brilliant.
You know, so that's led me into obviously doing work with them. I'm hoping I'm going to be doing some more work with them.
Fantastic.
And that again, that's directly, you know, the kids on the ward that I had my surgery on. But yeah, like I said, I think my mum, they kind of had to trick me into doing it. You know, just saying this is just what happens. It's just what every, you know, little boy or girl has to do. But I think when it got down to the nitty gritty and I was going down, I think I changed my mind, and I don't think I said I don't want this doing. So I think there were a bit of a thing.
I think when you was a kid, when you get in there and you see the operating table and the people in the masks and stuff, as a kid you're going to panic in that situation.
And to be honest, I think that's the only little bit I can remember. Apart from that, I can't remember, which is probably a good thing, to be fair.
Well, I mean, look, the amazing thing is it's never held you back in terms of what you've done. Like,
and just to say what you said before, I think that probably gave me a bit of a boost, you know, growing up. So instead of like, you know, shelling away and you know, not wanting to get involved in stuff because of that probably spurred me on more. Probably put a little fire in my belly about that, you know.
Yeah.
I imagine kids at school as well were maybe asking like, what's the scar on your chest, Tommy?
You know,
like,
and obviously I was always a small kid, you know, so I probably had to stick up for myself a little bit more than normal. And then obviously with the heart thing, you know, who knows, that might have been why I wanted to maybe get into boxing, and because I suppose you wouldn't have thought it really, you know. I don't really think of it a lot, but you know, doing what I've done in boxing, you know, it's probably you know, when you saw me having open heart surgery at 5-year-old, you probably wouldn't have said he'd go on to be a professional boxer. That's probably at least you'd say. So yeah, it's a good thing when you look at it like that.
The thing I'm always thinking about when I see boxers is like, why did they get into it? Was it something in the childhood? Were they kind of a bad kid? Did they want to do it? Were they a bit of a wrong-un? Were they just naturally aggressive? But knowing everything we know now about your childhood and knowing you as a person, you're very placid, and like you sound like you had a great upbringing. So
I did.
What was it that drew you to boxing? Was it just a class that you went to one time? Was it like your dad driving it? Was it family, friends?
Yeah. So it was just my cousin. Your cousin? One of my cousins. He used to box. He actually used to box for Sheffield Boxing Centre. Right. You know, that's the only gym I've ever been to. Sheffield Boxing Centre. Glyn Road. So. You know, I'd say so probably around the ages of 9, 10, 11. My auntie and uncle, they used to live on Park Hill Flats, so we used to go down with my mum and dad, see my cousin, and they used to have a punch bag down there. I can always remember this punch bag in the hallway, and my uncle Chris, he's always liked boxing, so he used to put on VHS videos of like Mike Tyson's greatest hits, like his best knockouts and stuff. He used to give me to take home, so I always remember like watching them. And then that was like the first, my first interest in boxing. And then obviously knowing that my cousin boxed, at Sheffield Boxing Centre, I think I just asked my dad to just take me down. But I can always remember it. I can remember walking up. It's the old Burton Street School in Hillsborough. If you've watched the full Monty, it's the school what's in the full Monty.
I've been
the old
Sheffield
school.
Boxing Centre.
Yeah, have you been?
I'll get a secret. Glenn Rhodes has trained us because I used to play at Sheffield Hallam football.
Right, get you.
And our first team manager knew Glenn Rhodes. They used to call our first team manager Sharky.
Right.
So Sharky used to
I
tell
know Sharky.
Yeah. Chris
Is he friends with Curtis Woodhouse?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I know Sharky. Yeah. I can remember him going to the gym. I know Sharky.
So he took us down, and he was a football. He used to play for Sheffield United. He was
that's right.
He was coach at Hallam.
Yeah.
And he took us down a few times, and he took us purely to get beasted. Like
just as a fitness, isn't it?
Basically, those guys knew how to push people, and I remember he used to go around with a water pistol and squirt.
Yeah, he's still got it. It's his favourite thing.
But he loved it. He was like, "You poncy little footballer, right? I've got my hands on you now, right? You're getting beasted, you lot." And but he were a class lad, like great laugh. Always had a good time. And actually, it got like after the horrible first session was over, you kind of got to the feeling like actually it's really good for us. We enjoy it. It's a good crack, and we enjoy going down. So I've been down. I know what you mean.
Yeah, so like I said, I can remember it's a small world, isn't it?
It's really small
world. Yeah, I can remember. I hadn't seen him in a lot of years, but I can remember that time he were down there. But like you said, for fitness, we've had loads of football teams over the years and stuff. Doing bits of training. But yeah, Sheffield Boxing Centre. So I must have been maybe 12, maybe 13. But I can always remember walking up the stairs, some own steps leading up. Must have been a Saturday morning. So I can remember all the bags in Sheffield Boxing Centre, as you probably will have seen, they're all on scaffolding poles. So this is a Saturday morning, it's rammed, everyone's hitting bags, so scaffolding poles were just shaking. So I can remember walking upstairs and hearing that. But it's like 12-year-old, it's a bit intimidating. It's a bit of a scary thing walking into a boxing gym. So again, I was probably a little bit scared. So like I said, my dad took me down. Probably didn't take to it at first. I probably liked the idea of it more than actually doing it. I probably liked the idea of it, but then once you've been smacked in the face a few times, maybe I didn't go off it, but I weren't the most confident of kids. Not that I was shy, but I weren't the most outgoing. So it probably scared me a little bit. But to this day, like I've said, on interviews before, I don't know what it were. Something kept me going.
You were drawn to it.
Yeah, I was just drawn to it. Yeah, and although I were definitely not the most naturally talented, at boxing, I definitely weren't a natural. But I just had something that just kept me going. So I just kept showing up. I think I started with a couple of school friends, and I think as the weeks went by, they kind of drifted off. But for whatever reason, I just kept going. But I was playing football at the same time. I was playing football, but I used to. It were Woodhouse Juniors.
Yeah, I know Woodhouse Junior as well.
Yeah,
I know him really well.
Well, my one of my mates who I went to school with, his dad was the coach. So I used to go and train with my mates, but I was never good enough. So I weren't good enough to actually get in the team. So I just used to go and just have a knock, just train like a couple of days a week. But I was never good enough to play. I was never good enough at football to actually play for him. So like I said, I was training at football. I was training boxing. My dad was taking me to both, and that went on for maybe a year or two. And then I think I was around 14, and my dad just said to me, "Look, my dad had come in the gym and watched me train, boxing." And he just said, "Look, I've seen you training at boxing. I've seen you train at football. I think you've got to that stage now. I think you should pick one and you should stick with it. And if you're asking me, I think it's boxing." So to be fair,
he thought that you needed to put more time into it. He wanted to push you.
Yeah. And I think he could see that I enjoyed football, but I was never going to play football. So he kind of pushed me a little bit into the boxing, and to be fair, that's what I did. I don't think I went to football again. I just put everything into boxing. So like I said, that was when I was 14. when I was 15, that's when I started actually having my amateur fights, and literally from 15 to now 30, it's all I've done. It's literally all I've done.
Yeah.
Just boxing non-stop. Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember that first amateur fight? What were you feeling?
It. 14 for me, 2009. Yeah, 40. We're in Derby. I remember my opponent's name. I think Jack Holmesworth, it was called.
Wow.
So yeah, and I won. Brilliant. So it's always, like I said, your first fight, whether it's an amateur fight or a pro fight, is something you'll never forget. And yeah, thankfully I won mine. So yeah,
I can't think of more terrifying things, knowing that you're walking into a place to physically have a scrap. You have to rally yourself up.
I don't think you think when you box though. I don't think you think about it like that, because you know it's a technical thing. You're thinking about it as a sport, point systems, how I'm going to get like. I think for me or you, my only experience really with fighting is Arden Streets after a night out. Like boxing's technical. Like there's ways, and I assume you were in head guards and stuff at that point. So you know you're not going to get completely walloped.
I think it's like I said, because obviously you're training in the gym, you're sparring, so that's the boxing side. You know what you're doing, like technically, and obviously you want to win the boxing match, don't you? But then when you get in there, it does, obviously, you know, and your training becomes like muscle memory. So you just automatically go to your technique and stuff. But there's you can't get there's no way about it. You're having a fight with, so you are having a scrap with someone else. So that kind of does hit you. And it's
when does it hit? Is it when you get there? Is it when you walk in the ring walk kind of thing?
I think it just the build up before, because you know, you get, obviously for any sort of organised fight, you get time in advance. You know, you get notice for it, so you know you're training for this one thing, and then obviously the day comes, and probably when you get, you know, the nerves start getting in, and then when you actually get in the ring, it's like this is happening. You know, this is actually happening, and it's kind of sink or swim, but it teaches you a lot about yourself. That you know what I mean. So if you, like I've said this before, and I'm not just saying, you know, just because of boxing, but once you've boxed, once you've, you know, had fights, not a lot phases you in general life. It really doesn't. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just
because you know how to handle yourself. I think there's a fear about like people fear confrontation, but I think if you're dealing confrontation every week, and you know how to handle yourself, there's almost a sense of like whatever happens, and not do it. You see it so much with like boxers, MMA fighters who are just really actually quite chill, because they are weapons essentially. Like they are trained weapons who can really hurt you if you're not careful.
But I mean, for me, it's not even obviously the physical does come into it a little bit, but not even the physical, just the mental side of actually, you know, having a fight and not swallowing it, basically. You know what I mean? Like overcoming it, and then that you've ticked a box in your own head then for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when it comes down to it, sink or swim. You've got in there when you didn't have to. And you've had a fight with someone, and if you've won, you've won. If you've lost. But you've got in there, and you've done it. And I think that's like a springboard to everything else in your life. That I'm not saying everyone should go out and have a fight. Should have a boxing fight. But like I said, once you've boxed, not a lot in everyday life kind of makes you nervous or gets you.
A great way of putting it.
I think you're probably the epitome of like quiet confidence. Because you sort of look at people sometimes and you think there's something about them, and we've said this about guests we've had on the podcast, there's something about them all, but I think it's almost knowing that you've got an extreme point of reference, haven't you? Like if something happens in life and you go, I've been through worse than this.
That's the thing, isn't it?
But I think boxing's a more extreme and quite direct version of that. But you could say like just training in general, whatever you're training for, whether it's the gym, any kind of sport, it shows you discipline, it shows you structure, it shows you what you're made of sometimes. Like how often are you giving up? How often are you putting the excuses? How often are you actually showing up and getting the work done? And when you see yourself getting better, whether that's through your sport, whether it's for your physique, how you look, there's nothing more inspiring, is there? Like when you can feel yourself, I guarantee when you were 12 to 16 years old, from the moment you step foot in that boxing gym to the moment you had your first amateur fight, the improvement will have been 1,000,000%. Do you know what I mean? Massive.
Oh yeah,
and the confidence every year will have grown and grown and grown to the point where you think, actually, now I can go and have an amateur fight. And I'm guaranteed when that amateur fight came on the table, you probably had no hesitation in taking it. There's no way in the first 1-2 years you would have taken a fight against someone else. So it's a confidence thing, and that confidence again grows inside the gym with what you're doing. But it also grows outside the gym, and you walk around with a sense of, I'm good at something. I can do something. And I think what a great message for all kids. Like, just go and get good at something.
Definitely.
And build your confidence through a sport, through pushing your body, through your physique.
And in many ways, I am the example of that, because like I said, I weren't naturally talented in boxing, but for whatever reason it was, something just kept me going. And you know, I think you can be talented in other ways. You can be talented in work ethic and wanting to improve. I think that in itself is a talent,
a skill.
It's a skill. It really is a skill.
I mean, how many people do we know that definitely you have seen cover the boxing gym, looked sharp, and you thought, he's got a good jab him, he's quick, just haven't shown up a lot, and you've been like, you can have all the talent, but it's the work ethic that gets you to where you want to be. And
of course it is.
You know, you said maybe yourself, I don't know, I know I'm no boxing expert, but you said you're not naturally talented, but you got to an amazing level. You won some fantastic things in your career. What it can do when you really put your head down. Absolutely.
I mean, Glyn always says hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you know, you can have bags of talent, you know, but in the long run, you know, if you haven't got that drive or that work ethic, if you're just relying on talent, it only gets you so far.
I suppose you must see so many people be complacent as well, and that's one thing I really like about the boxing community. And if it's all right with you, Tommy, I want to just lift the curtain a little bit on that and sort of ask a few naive questions, because I love nicknames and I love alias. And when I saw that you were Super Tommy Frank, number one, I want to know who decides that. Like, is it the rest of the gym? Is it you? You say, lads, what do you think of this?
You know, I literally just think it must have just been said. I don't know exactly when it were, can't remember. Probably, you know, it definitely were when I was boxing amateur. Someone must have just said it in gym one day, Super Tommy Frank, and it must have just stuck. I can't remember the exact, you know, day or, you know, when it happened, but it must have just been something like that.
I think that's how all good nicknames come about. It just someone's random comment, it sticks for whatever reason. One name just sticks. It feels right, and everyone just calls it you from then on.
But it's good if you've got a name what rings with something. It's good, isn't it?
It's a cool name as well. Yeah. Super Tommy Frank.
But there's some good boxing names, isn't there?
But it's also there's hard, and then it's hard to kind of pick one that hasn't already been picked as well.
I know what you mean.
We've got unique. Super Tommy Frank, it rolls off the tongue. It rolls off the tongue,
but if you've got a name, like I'm just thinking now, there's a featherweight called Nick Ball. He boxed on Fury's undercard. You've probably seen him from Liverpool.
I do.
You know
I've seen him.
Yeah, but his name is Nick Wrecking Ball.
Oh yes.
So it's like if you've got the right name, you can pick an alias to go with it, can't you?
That's good.
So
Were you not tempted by Bruno?
What?
Like Tommy Frank Bruno.
I know, Tommy Frank Bruno, I wish I had.
I think you've chose a good one, though.
Yeah, I wish I could knock him out like Frank Bruno. I ain't got that. I'd beat him on points.
I think the behind the scenes question will probably ring walk, because I've had this thought many a time, like what would be my walk on music.
Every guy does. Every guy's like,
really?
Every bloke's walking down, because sometimes you'll be in the gym as well, and a song will come on, and you go, this is and you must be thinking the same, because you're actually doing it. You must be in the gym sometime and you hear a song and go, I could go down.
Well, I had One Step Beyond Me, Madness,
nice.
but that was because a former pro fighter, John Fuchs, he used to box for Glyn Road. So when I was coming up, you know, as a young kid, you know, he were, along with the other pros in the gym, he were like my idol, John, you know, so I used to go to his pro fights and stuff, you know, probably the first professional fights I went to, they were John's, and he always had Madness One Step Beyond. So when I turned pro, at the time he were retired. He did make a comeback later on, but he were retired at the time. So I asked him, I said, can I have that song? So he kind of gave me that song.
Amazing.
So that was like a little tribute to John, that. And that stuck, you know. I think I had it for every fight. I had it for literally every fight, One Step Beyond. So I'll get videos sent me now. Like if anyone I know is out in town and One Step Beyond comes on, they'll send me a video of it. They'll be dancing.
Class.
Yeah.
Add us to that list, mate. Well.
That's it. Yeah, One Step Beyond.
Speaking of comebacks.
Yeah.
Any chance of you stepping in the ring?
Do you know what? My honest answer, I'm just being honest, I don't know.
Okay. I
really don't know. And that's just the way I'm feeling at the minute. You know, like I said, after my last fight, you know, I definitely wanted some time off. And then that just coincided with obviously Connie come in, and a lot of things have changed. And you know, not for one particular reason, you know, but a lot of things have changed now. And I just think boxing, I love boxing. I'll always be involved in boxing, you know. That's why I'm getting more involved in coaching now, and you know, in the future, I'm sure I'll be a trainer. You know, I'll no matter what, I'll always be involved in boxing. I love boxing, but as a fighter, especially as a professional fighter, you can't be. You've got to be all in. You know, you've got to be all in, and that's something I've always been. You know, I've been very fortunate. You know, since turning pro in 2016, you know, I've had sponsors look after me. That's just enabled me to just train full time. I've only had boxing, you know, whereas now, you know, things have changed, and you know, I've got to think about what's best for my little girl and you know, my other half, and it's an hard game, boxing, very hard game.
Oh, you don't have to tell me.
And it's like, sure. I think there's two different sides. You know, there's the boxing what you see on the TV. You know, you watch Tyson Fury and AJ, and you know, there's that side. But then the other side of boxing, it's still professional boxing, but it's almost like two different sports, because if you're not at the top end and you're not with the big promoters, you're not earning as much money as people think you are. Do you know what I mean? You've got to sell tickets to get on shows, and then there's no safety net. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
I remember Tony Bellew was listening to an interview by him, and he was saying that when he was coming through the ranks, you know, the money was shit basically. It wasn't as good as everyone thought it was, and you can earn an okay wage and you can afford the ability not to have another job. But it's not like the mega bucks. And it wasn't until it was his little
David A. Yeah, I remember him saying
it wasn't until David A. It was his first big payday.
Yeah, that's
right. He literally went from earning like 10-20 grand a fight to like $1 million.
Yeah,
that was the jump. That was the jump from literally 10-20 grand up to $1 million.
And that's what boxing's like, you know. Because I think when you say, you know, when people see you as a professional boxer, they think, oh God, you know, you must be earning a rate wage, you know what I mean? But it's not like that. You know, you build yourself up to get the big fights, and then obviously that's when you can earn some good money. But before that, it's a long road, you know, to get there. And like I said, there's no safety net. So especially at the start of your career, you know, you're training for a fight for, you know, 10 or 12 weeks, and then, you know, 2 weeks before your opponent gets injured or something happens with the show, the fight falls through, no one's getting paid. Do you know what I mean? And you've took, you know, 10, 12 weeks out of your life, you know, missing things, you know, not being able to eat, and
how many times did it happen to you?
That's happened a few times. To be fair, not, you know, early on in my career, I was quite fortunate. I were active, but when I was defending my British title against Jay Harris, you know, it was the best part of the year. Trying to make that fight. Honestly, you know, training for pretty much a solid year. Both me and Jane, through no fault of our own, the fight just kept getting passed around, you know, different promoters, or and you know, things kept happening, kept falling through. So it's
you two must have been at wit's end then after that.
I tell you what, do you know what? He's like a good man, Jay, from Wales. He's from Swansea. Good fight. I lost my British title to him, but it was a very good fight. And in the build-up, like I said, we were, you know, the fight was getting passed around. It kept getting put back, and no one really knew what were happening. Like, so me and Jay were messaging each other on Instagram, You know, so we're training to fight each other, but literally none of us had a clue what were happening. So, you know, he'd message me like, do you know what's happening with this fight? You know, have you heard all? And I was like, listen, I'm in the same boat as you. If I hear anything, I'll let you know. And it was like that. Yeah. So like we built a bit of a friendship up.
That must have been
like
really hard.
leading up to boxing, and then like we had this fight. And to be fair, it was a good fight, very good fight. And obviously, you know, kept in touch after. But that's boxing. It's a very it's a mad game. There's no game like boxing. There's no sport like boxing. And you know, you've got to think like in football. You know, you've got the FA. Do you know what I mean? So you know, if you're a professional football player, you know, you have some sort of pension. Do you know what I mean? You get looked after. You know, once you've retired. Boxers have nothing. You know, you're literally on your own. There's no, you know, there's the British Boxing Board of Control, which is our governing body in the UK. But they're not like, you know, they're like a limited company. Do you know what I mean? They're not like a governing body like the FA.
Yeah.
So as a pro fighter, you know, you're on your own. The money you make from your fights, that's the money you make.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a unique sport, boxing, you know, when it comes to that. And I think, like I said, a lot of people don't know that. You know, they see boxing on the TV and, you know, they see you as a pro boxer, but it's not the glitz and glam, you know, unless you make it to the top and you're involved in them big pay-per-view fights, you know, you're not earning the best money.
It's fascinating. It's just strange how it works that way. And a lot of sports are the same. Like, I think I was heavily into golf a few years ago, and you kind of start speaking to some pros and they tell you exactly the same thing. Golf's no different. Like, the only issue with golf is you've got to pay for your own travel all over the world playing these tournaments. You can be losing thousands. If you pay, you know, $2,000 for a flight, $1,000 for a hotel for the week, you're $3,000 in, and then you come last and you get paid no money. And you've now lost money. So you're losing money trying to make it, and a lot of pro golfers generally come from quite good backgrounds because they can afford to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I think with that in mind then, Tommy, if there's somebody listening now who maybe has ambitions to be a pro boxer, or somebody's kid maybe really loves boxing and wants to get into it, what would you advise them and set himself up?
Look, I'd say, you know, if you love it, go for it. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, just be try and educate yourself. I'd say the number one rule is professional boxing. Amateur boxing is different, but professional boxing is first and foremost a business. You've got to treat it as a business. It don't become a sport anymore when you're talking. It's business, and at times, you know, it can be a dirty business, and it's a very cutthroat. I mean, you're fighting for money. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like when you think about it, it's a weird thing to get your head around, innit? But that is literally what you're doing. You're prize fighting. So you just have your wits about you. You know, look after the money that you do earn. You know, because obviously you're not flying high forever. But
tricky
it's
thing
like,
is, I guess, you know, you get big paydays and you want to go and spend all that big payday.
That's it.
It's not like a monthly wage. I would imagine. Not unless you're getting maybe sponsorships, and that's coming in quite consistently.
Like I said, you know, I was very lucky, so I got sponsored, you know, by quite a few companies. You know, most of them are very good friends of mine to this day. You know, but you know that just gets you by. That just allows you to train full time. Puts you some fuel in car, do you know what I mean? Gets you your weekly shopping, just gets you by, and then obviously when you box, that's your big chunk in it. But like I said, you know, depending on that, and we're all normal people, you know, families, and obviously now I just got a little baby girl, and it's you know, you've got to think about the money side of it, you know, and things start getting prioritised. You know, it's different when it's just you and you're doing it for the love of it. But you know, you've got to start prioritising, you know, a little bit.
You said something fascinating before. You said if you're going to step in the ring, your heart's got to be in it. And
that's the thing.
I think you see a lot of boxers where they get to the end of their career and you can just see their head's not in it anymore. Their passion's gone a little bit. The business maybe the side of things has ground them down. They've got a few kids now, and same thing. I know from having my little girl, I'm probably not as like cutthroat and motivated, not motivated, but maybe not like
like risk taking almost.
Yeah, risk taking. Not willing to like do the crazy. I still work crazy hours, but I'm not willing to do like the crazy stuff I did when I didn't have her in my mid-20s.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
I want to spend that half an hour with her. I'd rather spend that hour. I'd rather see her before she goes to bed.
Of course.
I think same thing, like that plays in the boxer's mind. That's why they probably have boxing camps where you go away for 12 weeks, get away from the kids. I don't want any distractions, get made in the game. But even then, it's hard because you're going to be FaceTiming them, you're going to be seeing them, you're going to be missing them. Families and kids changes everything, especially in sport. I think it really does.
I think so, yeah. But like I said, at the minute, I'm not retired. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know what the future will hold. I'm just being honest with you. You know, I genuinely don't know at the minute. But you know, like I said, my last few fights haven't gone my way. Probably the last couple of years in boxing have been quite tough. And I just think through a few reasons, one of the main reasons for me were making weight. I probably should have, I boxed at flyweight, which is 8 stone, but again, hindsight's a great thing.
What do you sit around at now, generally?
Now I'm probably heaviest I've been, do you know what I mean? I'm like 9.5, probably I've been touching 10 stone, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I used to walk around, I'd say probably about 9.3 to 9.5, something like that. Okay. So I used to get about 1.5 stone off to make flyweight, but I've always
that
been
weight, that's a lot.
That's the thing.
So it's over 10% of your body weight.
So I've always been a big flyweight. I've been known as being a very big flyweight. But I think just over the last couple of years, making the weight were just getting harder and harder. But things keep you hanging on. Like I had my British title, I won the Lonsdale belt at flyweight, and I wanted to defend that. So me and Jay Harris, we were like a big domestic fight, and I knew it'd be a good fight between us. So I were hanging on for that. I wanted to defend my title against him. Obviously that didn't go the way I wanted it to, but I just thought by then the weight were killing me. But it's all lessons learned, and I don't know whether maybe the last couple of years, and then obviously through being a new dad into the mix, maybe that's just kind of lost me that bit of spark.
I think it'll come back. I think you literally your daughter's 3 months old, so it's so new. It's so
I've still got 100%.
I think something will come up in the next maybe couple of years. And something will switch and you go, now you know what, I want to go out with a Iraq. I think a bit like Tyson Fury's comeback is probably one of the greatest of all time, isn't it? Let's be honest. In terms of where he was and how bad he was and how out of shape he got, and then he just switched one day and went, no, I'm not going to go out like this.
That's the thing.
But also as well, like you never know, like you might get, work might take you a certain place where you're just not willing to, change things and risk things, and it is all about risk with your family, isn't it? You're making decisions not just for you, for your family now. So
and you see, like what happened was, because I got my PT qualification through the boxing gym.
Nice.
I think that was like 2018 I got that, but never really did anything with it. I did the odd like PT and stuff in the boxing gym, and then like I said, from me deciding after my last fight, I need to have a bit of a rest. I really put my foot down with as a PT. Right. And I'm enjoying it, and I'm busy. So that's kind of opened up, not a new avenue, but it's took my mind off actual boxing for a little bit. And I think being a PT or coaching, that's something that I'd go into doing after boxing anyway. I think no matter how much money I made in boxing, because you've got to do something, do you know what I mean? There's so many hours in a day. I mean, no matter how much money, you've got to have a why, haven't you? You've got to have a reason why. And that's what that is what I would end up doing after boxing anyway, I think. So like I said, putting my foot down with PTing and coaching, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm busy.
How does that buzz compare to maybe motivating someone else to achieve what they want to achieve compared to your own achievements?
Yeah, it's good because again, it gives you a sense with me maybe not thinking too much about what I've achieved, but when other people say about my achievements, and that you realise that you're more of a, I'm not going to say a big deal, but to someone else, like you're helping them achieve their goals through what I've achieved, and it's a good feeling. That it's a really good feeling.
I bet.
And again, like delving more into coaching people, I've met some brilliant people, and it's just like a different type. It's like a different genre of people. It's opened me up to. And helping people achieve their own goals, in fitness, it's brilliant. And yeah, it does give you a buzz, and you feel like you're doing something worthwhile as well.
I think with what you've done in the past, like you'll always have an avenue into coaching. There'll always be someone who's looking to take your advice and expertise, whatever level of coaching that's at. So, I think to a certain degree, like what you've achieved already is kind of set you up for life in a way, like in terms of the coaching. Like, and people will come to you over other coaches because of what you've done. So that little thing that you did just as a little bit of a hobby and a sport actually opened so many avenues and doors later in life.
And you know what? It's took me, like I said, it's took me round the world boxing, boxing and training.
You mentioned in Las Vegas, been there quite a few times.
I've been to Vegas like 7 times, just out there. We went to a few fights out there, me and Glenn and all the gym. We went to a couple of Mayweather fights. Trained while we was out there.
Wow.
So that in itself is, you're talking life experiences, and then going on to achieve what I've achieved in boxing, like winning a British title, a Commonwealth title. So like when I was saying about financial, I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't earn bad money, but it's like saying, would you swap, would you get loads of money and be set for the rest of your life, but not have achieved something in boxing what you always wanted? And it's like what would you rather? Do you know what I mean? Because you're talking, winning a British title, you're talking history books. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to be there forever. Connie's going to be able to look back, and my grandkids are going to look back and see my name there.
You're going to be known in the next generation. Everyone has that thing where my dad used to play for Sheffield United or Wednesday, or he was a boxer, won British title. Your name in your family line is going to be historic for sure.
So that's like coming to winning things, achieving things, but then the financial thing, it's like what would you rather have? Because money comes and goes. You're always going to be able to earn money, but there's certain things money can't buy. Do you know what I mean? And that's like legacy stuff, innit?
I love the way you put that.
It's reputation as well.
Of course.
I think how hard is it to build a reputation, but how easy is it to destroy it? It's massive. And you mentioned about like Connie looking at yourself like in the record books and that sort of stuff. If Connie listened to this 5 years' time, like if you can talk directly to her, like what would you want to tell her? To say, listen, here's where I'm at now, here's what I want you to know for the rest of your life.
I'd say just be a good person, be kind, try and help other people, have a positive outlook. I've always been a massive believer in that. I think when I were like, I don't know, probably how old were I? Maybe like 17, 18. Yeah, maybe about 17, 18. You know the secret law of attraction.
Yes.
So I think I read that. But ever since being like 17, 18, I've always been a big believer in being positive, and that's drawn things to me. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I would have done what I've done in boxing without that attitude.
We've had this conversation before. Like some of the people we've had in there. Pete was one of the people I said, like, you attract people who are like you, who are on the same wavelength as you. And if that's business stuff, great, you're going to attract loads of business people. If it's boxing stuff, you attract the boxing guys. But if you're positive, you attract positive people. They'll be drawn to you. And I think I've always tried to adopt that same thing myself. I've always said I'm probably more of a pessimist by nature, but I know when I'm trying to be optimistic and positive, even when I'm not feeling it deep down, it's amazing how your day can change in an instant.
100%.
Your month can change. Opportunities present themselves when you're just positive, when you really don't feel like being positive. It's about, Mike Tyson had a great phrase, it's doing the shit you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it.
That's right, And
I love that quote, doing the shit you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it. And that's always, again, something that's stuck with me in terms of when you're feeling down, it's not great. Just pull it out of the bag and act like things are okay, because that just turns your day around, turns your month around.
100%.
We get in our own heads about this stuff.
Yeah, you really do.
You know, again, I'm sure you've had it before when you've been training for boxing matches, for example, and things aren't going quite right, and you're not feeling good, and you can kind of start talking yourself out of stuff, and the nerves set in a little bit, and the doubt, and when that doubt sets in anything that you do, it's game over, basically.
Yeah, of course it is. Everything's your mind. Everything is your mind. And you know, I'm a massive believer that I have achieved what I achieved in boxing through my attitude. Because like I said, I weren't that naturally talented, but I had that work, that drive that kept me training. But you know, my positive outlook. You know, I think that you draw stuff. You know, and sometimes like maybe lately. Since my last fight, you know, in August, you know, maybe I've had little blips and not be kind of forgetting myself. My other half, she has to remind me, you know, like get back on your you know, your law of attraction and your positive thinking, because it's true. It really is true. And I just think, you know, if you're open, if you're kind to people, and you know, you speak good about yourself as well, you know, I think that's a big thing, you know, speaking well about yourself, and it helps you draw good things.
Other halves are good at that, aren't they? Just reminding you.
Yeah, she reminds me, she really does, because I have my days.
They see you good, the bad and the ugly, don't they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
They know when you're on a top level, and sometimes you don't actually know when you're feeling a bit down, and you missus will pull you aside and go, "Been all right, you okay?" You're like, if she's noticed something, maybe I'm not feeling okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Then you kind of start thinking, "Oh, actually, I'm feeling a bit shit at the moment."
Yeah,
they remind you.
Yeah, I think credit to everyone like around you as well. Like we spoke at length about your mum and dad as well. Like prior to recording, spoke really highly of your dad and your siblings. Is there anyone else who you think's been such a big part in your life?
You know, I've been very lucky. You know, my mum and dad, my brother and sister, just a normal Sheffield working class family, but very, very, very close, very tight to this day. And then, you know, very fortunate, you know, me and Charlie been together like 11 years. She's got a great family, you know, all round. So all together, we're all very. I've always had a brilliant unit around me, you know, throughout my boxing career, you know, and turning pro. They've all been massively supportive, you know, so that's been a big help. I'd say Glyn Rhodes, obviously. I mean, I'm grateful for every trainer who I've ever worked with at Sheffield Boxing Centre, whether that's been as a kid or now. Two people in particular, Glyn Rhodes and Matt Mowat. You know, they've been like, you know, like extra father figures in my life. It's not just boxing, you know. I've said this before, but it's not just boxing with them two, because it's been like life lessons. Do you know what I mean?
They keep you grounded. I guess as a boxer, I get any chance you get to make some money in anything that you do. Like, you can go tread a little bit, you can get a bit cocky, and I guarantee when they were younger, and they probably do it the same now, to just keep people grounded, stop themselves getting ahead of each other.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, I've met Glyn, you know, he's a typical Sheffield bloke, innit? You know, he's
a character.
He tells you it as it is. He'll never bullshit you.
I think what Glyn, sorry to cut you out, I think what Glyn is a boxing teacher. You get a lot of trainers these days, but you get a lot of boxing trainers. He's one of the last teachers, I think. That's like, you know, like the young school. He's got a lot of wisdom, Glyn. You know, he's very old school in his outlook. But you know, more than anything, you know, I think especially Glyn and Matt. I mean, they've changed so many kids' lives. It's unbelievable. So many kids' lives. You're talking about thousands and thousands of kids over the years that's walked into Sheffield Boxing Centre. They might have never gone on to box, do you know what I mean? But just the lessons they've learned from, you know, right and wrong. And
there's a reason he's NBA.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, of course there is. But I think boxing probably more than any other sport, I'd say, relates to life, you know, directly. There's a lot of lessons you can learn in a boxing gym. What are gonna help you in everyday life, that no matter what, you know, you might be a postman, you might be a butcher, you might be a boxer, but you know, you're learning just basic life values. And they must have changed so many kids' lives, you know, kids what were, you know, going off the rails, and they just needed that little push. They might have gone completely the wrong way, but just going into SBC on a Saturday morning or a couple of times, Glyn and Matt helping him, you know, Say please and thank you. You know what I mean? Shake my hand, say hello and goodbye.
Yeah.
Learn your...
Humbling them a little bit as well.
Humbling them,
because I think in their community they can see themselves as a bit of a top dog. You know, you get like a 12, 13-year-old kid in there who's never had a slap around the face before, goes into a boxing gym, gets schooled. Yeah. He's going, oh, there's more to this than
that's it.
I don't like this feeling.
Yeah.
If they're a good character and they can stay around, that's going to be instilled in them to be like, actually, you know, I probably shouldn't be walking around made up so high. I need to actually be humbled a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they might go on to box, they might not. But you know the lessons they've learned in that boxing gym, it's going to be with them, you know, forever.
Yeah,
that's gone to my head, by the way. I said I don't have monsters a lot, but I'm buzzing a bit.
Yeah, there we go. He's only had about a third of it as well.
Yeah, I have. I know.
I always say to people about like the boxing community. And I mentioned to you, Tommy, like I did some assessing work at Moston and Collier's boxing gym. And
you said.
It's so nice to see like young lads who are from quite an underprivileged background just being moulded into these really polite young men and young women. And
just another reason why I love boxing. I just love it, you know, for boys, for girls, you know, for everyone. And you walk into a boxing gym, you get such a wide range of people, every race, every religion, you know, every just every aspect of life, you know, coming together. Every occupation. There's I can't remember who said it, but you walk into a boxing gym, you'll get like, you know, someone who's been in prison, he'll be training next to a policeman. Do you know what I mean? But that's how boxing is. It brings everyone together. And like I said, you can learn a lot about life in a boxing gym.
And there's a reason people are drawn to it as well. It's structure, it's routine, it's you know, as we've mentioned, it's just so many things that people lack in life and what sends them off the rails. When those things go out the window. I think that's why the military is such a tight bond as well. Like, it's very militant, isn't it, boxing, I guess, in its approach. Because you have to be quite regimented and strict. And
I think a lot of it goes just to discipline. A lot of it goes down to just general discipline, and I think that's how you learn. It's how you learn right from wrong, and it's about doing the hard things, isn't it? You know, doing the hard things, but ultimately that leads to, you know, an easier life, doesn't it? Getting them fundamentals. I think kids in schools now would benefit from more boxing training. I mean, I go to a couple of schools just to do, you know, I'm not talking about hitting each other, I'm just talking about boxing training. But you know, I think if they brought a bit of boxing training back in schools, I think that would instill in the kids, you know, about training and discipline and respect. And again, it's not just boxing.
You know, I think the biggest barrier there is they see the direct link between fighting and fighting. They just see it as fighting. That's basically. They don't want to teach kids how to punch. They see that as a bit of a, you know, and you can't deny it's gonna teach them how to smack someone.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it?
But I think you can't see it just as such a face value thing. You have to see it as what it instills.
Yeah, of course.
The same reason you kept showing up at 11 years old, it wasn't because you liked going and smacking people in the face.
Yeah.
You weren't turning up there for that reason. Exactly. You were turning up there because you were getting something from it. You enjoyed it. It was discipline. It was, something you enjoyed. Like a lot of young lads and girls, there's nothing they actually enjoy, and when there's nothing you into and nothing you're passionate about, God, you're out on the streets causing chaos, doing all sorts. It just takes, like a sport takes up people's time.
Yeah, of course it does.
And that is in itself is great for kids.
And but like you said, sometimes I find myself, you know, I'll be watching boxing and I'll just think to myself, like, what a weird sport, what a brutal sport. It really is, isn't it?
I'm glad you still think that though, because it's
but it is
after being in it for so long and achieving so much in it. Because I'm the same thing. I've watched an MMA fight sometime, and my missus will go, "What do you see in this?" Like,
it's mad.
Obviously, MMA it can be a bit more brutal as well, because I'm watching some bloke get his arm snapped for an arm bar, and you're like, I'm enjoying watching this. I'm actually enjoying two blokes kick shit at him. But I think we understand the nuance a little bit, hopefully, in what's going on. But I remember even as a kid watching MMA and thinking, this is a step up like this. This is ridiculous. And boxing can be just as bad, but it is nuts on face value.
On face value it really is, but when you dive deeper into it, you know, you realise it's done so much good boxing, you know, for people's lives, men and women, just in their everyday lives, just doing a bit of boxing training. I've noticed that now we're training people, so training a couple of clients at station, you know, just maybe not quite confident in themselves, and just it's amazing just learning a bit of footwork and learning a new skill in some boxing training, hitting some pads, and you can see the confidence growing, you know, and just hearing people that it has brought out more confidence in them, which is a good thing all round. So yeah, it's brilliant. I love boxing. You know what I mean? I love boxing for that reason.
Absolutely.
Well, that passion shines through. And 100%. That one thing that me and Ryan said when we first met, I can tell that Ryan loves training. He loves his daughter. And the same goes with you. You can tell that you love training, you love boxing, you love your daughter, and it just comes across like so easily.
When I met Brad, I knew he loved dad jokes just straight away. If I could say, it shone through. There was a passion there. There's a real passion for dad jokes. I could just sense it in him.
Yeah. I've got an R-rated one from the finished podcast. I can't get it on here.
No, get it real though.
No, I can't.
Yeah, okay.
No, honestly, it's that bad. I can't. It's that bad.
Do you know what's good as well? But like, just what we say about dads. Like, you invited me on this podcast and stuff, and then we've got me and a couple of my mates, like they're former boxers, so we've got like a WhatsApp group as loads of friends have, and then when I became a dad, we changed it to Boxing Dads. That's that's the name. But just little things like that, do you know what I mean? It's like you're in a club, aren't you, when you become a dad?
Of course, because you get what other dads are going through, and it's like we know something that all these single lads will never go through.
That's it.
I kind of think that were you the last in that group to have the baby?
So like
they were planning that for a few years.
Well, for like,
but he's finding his kid now. But we can change the name.
Yeah, but for a good few years, you know, I'm a bit behind them. You know, they had all, you know, kids and their own families and stuff. So they were probably, but then I've joined them now in that. So it's nice. It is nice.
It's an exclusive club that we love to be a part of.
Yeah. What a club to be. First Father's Day other day.
Of course, brilliant.
So again, brilliant. Yeah, went to Seaside. Weather were hit and miss, but it was set. But just nice. what a day. Yeah, me, Charlie, his dog Rupert, his little cocker spaniel. He's crazy.
I guarantee as well, once you become a dad, you have a lot more respect for your own dad and your own parents. That goes through the roof as well.
100%, yeah.
I mean, you realise what they went through to raise you.
You realise how much they love you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you forget, especially as you're getting older. Like, I'm 30 now, do you know what I mean? I see my mum and dad every day pretty much, you know. We're all still very close, but you have a newfound respect for your mum and dad. 100%. And you realise, so it's like in past when, even as a 30-year-old man, you know, my dad on, you know, say, you alright, you know, everything alright, but then once you become a dad, you realise why he's like that with you, you know, why he's still, you know, checking on you and still gives you a love and a kiss, you know, you realise it.
There's a lot of things you overlook before you have a kid, where you're like, why is my mum still pestering me? Why does my mum still want to ring me? Why does my mum still want to ring me every week? But, you know, me and Brad are both, you know, we're the eldest of 3 boys, and when you've got 3 young lads in the house and then they all leave the house, I haven't seen what's that been. You've spent your whole life raising these 3 kids, and your whole life has revolved around them being okay, checking if they're all right, knowing where they are at all times, being able to message them, and then you go off to like uni and you go off to doing your own thing, and you move out, and then all of a sudden it's just empty. You've got no one to look after. You spent 20 years of your life doing it. You can see then why. And I completely changed, and I was like, right, I need to ring my mum more because I feel bad for not messaging her now. You know?
But I think I'm gonna have to toughen up a little bit as a dad, because I think I'm just too. Not worried. I'm probably I overreact on everything. Charlie has to tell me to calm down.
Yeah, so it's you will do now. Yeah, you will do at this point.
I think maybe that's because maybe I'd be a little bit different with a boy. I don't know. Maybe I'd be a little bit not as bothered, but not over. It's like she's your little princess, isn't she? Do you know what I mean? So like,
I guarantee you will be different with a boy. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before.
I'm quite hard on Ted. In like a loving way. I know what it takes.
I think I'd be like that.
I can't say no. Same. Like literally. Classic case last night. Harlow wouldn't sleep. Amy's been up there for an hour trying to like get her to sleep. She comes down, she's pulling her hair out. And Harlow go up, she's crying her eyes out. I just sit, and Amy said, "Do whatever you do, just get her down as quick as you can. Don't be messing about with stuff." I get in there. She goes, "Books. I want to read books." I'm like, "Sam, we'll read some books." I'm Amy's, because she's got a camera where she can talk through the camera. She goes, "Stop reading the books to her." It's like a little voice from God coming down on me. And
that's what I'd be like.
And I'm like, I can't. If she wants to, but she loves books, which I love as well. Which is great.
Brilliant.
So if she wants to read books at 9:30 at night when she's supposed to be in bed, I'm reading books with her. You know what I mean?
She's going to have me wrapped round her finger. Honestly, she is.
If it's any consolation, mate, I've got a little niece called Nova who was exactly the same age as Ted, and I'm such a melt around her. I'm proper melted.
Yeah. Like, so obviously you're seeing that difference between how you are with Ted and stuff.
100%. You got any closing questions for Tommy, mate?
Yeah, there was one actually. Just something back to the boxing. I think there's one thing I really want to touch on. Obviously, I know boxing can be a sport where there's some amazing highs, but also some real bitter lows. I think any sports person will go through both of those. And I wanted to ask you kind of what was the toughest moment for you in boxing, and how did you get through it, and what did it teach you?
Yeah, so I'd probably say, and again, it's just it shows you how sometimes your lowest moment can lead on to like your best moment. So just before I won my British title, I lost 2 fights back to back. So I had a fight. He were a Mexican kid, a tough kid. This were in December 2020. So it was during the lockdowns, like during the first lockdown, and it was crazy because it were in Sheffield Arena car park.
Oh,
so
wow.
so literally,
in the car park.
I remember the setup.
Literally, yeah. So as obviously it was March 2020 when lockdown, COVID came about. Every sport were off, weren't it? And then as the months went by, football came back behind closed doors. Boxing were the same, but the only boxing were like behind closed doors in studios. And you're talking about Frank Warren, Eddie, and your big promoters. They were the only ones putting boxing on behind closed doors. So Dennis, my manager and promoter, obviously he were thinking about different ways to get me back boxing. So he ended up putting a fight on in Sheffield Arena car park. And it was obviously it must be to this day that it was the UK's first driving boxing fight. So, I have drive-in cinemas.
Yeah.
He thought of, how can we keep people there, but obviously separate them so they're in their own bubble. And it were like a drive-in cinema, but a boxing.
Wow.
But a boxing event. So it was Sheffield Arena car park. People drove in, parked up,
I've just got this vision of everyone like honking the horns and stuff like that.
That's all you could hear. People honking their horns, because obviously they couldn't. I don't even think they were allowed to. They were told not to wind windows down and stuff because of COVID and that. But so they were just honking horns.
Wow,
it was
that
crazy.
must have been fascinating.
They were absolutely.
Did you every time you got clocked or put a big shot on, all the horns started going? So like the roar of the audience, it was the roar of the horns.
Literally, they were a ring with the canopy over. This were December as well, so it were cold. I didn't feel the cold, but it were a cold night, a bit rainy and stuff, a bit drizzly. So during introductions and stuff, I'm being introduced. There's loads of car horns. That's all I can remember. During the fight, at the end of every round, car horns going off. But it was crazy.
Fascinating.
And it's like when you look back on COVID now, it's like just such a strange time, isn't it?
But couldn't actually the ingenuity there and the ability to kind of get people together, abide by the rules. You get to box still. That's you get to train. They get to watch something that even just getting out of the house with people at that point was great.
To be fair to Dennis, like they made a bit of history doing that. It was the first UK driving boxing event. So that'll be that's that box ticked. But the fight. That was the fight. So I tore my rotator cuff in like the third round. It was just like a bit of a crazy experience. I threw a punch in the third round and just felt something going in my shoulder, just something not quite right. And then tried checking it out a little bit, tried throwing it again, and it weren't like excruciating pain. It just felt like something was broken. Do you know what I mean? I just felt this ain't right. So I went back after the third round. I think I told Glyn in corner, quietly, something's wrong with my shoulder. I'm going to see how it goes, but I'm just going to have to use my right for now. So I went out, tried throwing it again, and it would just, as the seconds were ticking by, it was just locking up. My shoulder was just locking up. I couldn't throw it, so I had to use my right hand for like 5 rounds.
Did he notice that? He must have.
At first, I don't think, because I won a couple of rounds just using my right. I'm orthodox, so obviously I was literally just like shooting them up middle, shooting straight right hands, hooks, and I weren't doing bad I actually won a couple of rounds. I weren't doing bad, but then I think it took a while for Penny to drop with this Mexican kid that I'd actually got an injury. You must have thought it was like a tactic at first, and like I said, as the penny must have dropped, that obviously I were injured. He just kind of put his foot down on gas, and I just felt the round slipping away. So I think it would end at 9th round or maybe end at 10th round. Glyn pulled me out in corner. So that was my first loss.
Wow.
And then what happened was I had to do loads of rehab on my shoulder. Thankfully the tear wasn't bad enough. It needed surgery. I could just kind of rehab it, but it took a long time. But then we got the rematch. So we got the guy back over from Mexico.
Wow.
Again, that were in Sheffield Arena car parks. So this were 2021. So I think we'd been out of lockdown, then back in lockdown. But by then, I think it was June. So obviously the weather were good. So Dennis was still putting on these car park fights. But to be fair, they had quite a good atmosphere about them. They had like a bit of a festival atmosphere, like with the musics and the drinks.
Brilliant.
It were quite good, to be fair. They were, I think there were 2 rings. No, sorry, they were just 1 ring, but it were quite a big setup.
Thinking quite fancy about this. So
I know, yeah. But so like I said, we had the rematch. So I think it was like 6 months after. In all honesty, my shoulder probably weren't a problem going in, and I kept. It weren't like an open, like, my shoulders still were injured, but I probably just had a few niggling thoughts what I kept to myself, and just when it just weren't quite ready yet.
Right. Did it go again?
No, it didn't go again. Okay. But I think that kind of forced me to adjust my tactics in that fight, and it were a close fight. To this day, I still thought I could have got it. But at the time, we thought we were just boxing, to a certain game plan, and as the rounds were going on, in our heads in the corner, we thought we were getting these rounds, we thought we were winning.
Oh wow!
And in the end, I lost by a split decision, which were guttering, because it were 2 back-to-back fights. This was the rematch. I'd lost it. In hindsight, I probably should have given my shoulder, a bit more time to get back, because. Although I don't think that affected the fight massively, just in my head I was probably just a bit gun shy from letting it go. And like I said, I lost that fight, so that were really low for me, like really low. I'd lost 2 fights back to back, and I thought that were kind of not it, but it were going to be a long road back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I were down. I were devastated after that fight. Me and Charlie, we went to Edinburgh just for a few days, just to get away. So I had a few days over there, kind of licking my wounds a bit, having a bit of downtime. That were the time to be a bit down. And then after that, I just had like a little fire in my belly, and I wanted to right that wrong. And as well, I thought like a few people were kind of writing me off a little bit as well. I think so. Yeah, because on paper I'd lost 2 back-to-back fights, and I thought people were kind of just saying, well, that's Tommy Frank done then, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know.
Just after 2 fights.
Yeah,
madness, that, innit?
Maybe that were. Maybe a lot of that were in my head, or maybe some of it were true, but that's what I thought. And I thought I've got to right this wrong. Not even about beating him or having another fight with him. Just coming back, getting another fight, going on to achieve more things. I felt like I needed to do that, and to be fair, that's what I did. So straight away, I got back in the gym, I got back training, because I could have had some time off after that fight if I'd have wanted to. No one would have blamed me or anything, but I got straight back in the gym. I told Dennis, that was my plan. Obviously, Glyn knew. And then I think I was training for a fight, just maybe a 6-round fight, just to get back. And then about 4 weeks before, an opportunity came up to box for British title. So that's the Lonsdale belt, because the plan was to box for that before the Guaneros fight, the fight with the Mexican. that were a last minute thing because a fight for the British title fell through.
Right.
So I ended up fighting the Mexican for like an international title, and obviously that's, you know, them fights didn't go to plan. So the British title was the main aim to begin with. So like I said, about 4 or 5 weeks, I think we got notice, and I just knew I had to take it with both hands. And
nice that opportunity came back around again.
Unbelievable.
But
yeah.
I think
But if I'd have stayed down, and if I'd have got face on with myself, and you know, I wouldn't have gone back in the gym.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got that opportunity. I wouldn't have been ready to have that opportunity. But again, I had that little fire. I got back in the gym, got on it, got that opportunity. And I knew I had to take it with both hands, and thankfully I did. So literally 12 weeks apart from, you know, losing the rematch, losing 2 fights in a row, being in my head in, you know, probably the worst situation I could have been in boxing. And then 12 weeks later I were British champion.
Amazing. But what a turnaround, and again, just testament to your mindset and not giving in. And you know, but I'm sure that you don't get to that position where you're fighting for international titles without having that little bit of bite. But it's so easy in that moment to just sack it all off, isn't it?
Yeah,
and be like, you know what? I'm down now. I feel shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm done for boxing. You get in your head a little bit, and before you know it, you fall out of love with the sport. You're not trained for 6 months, a year. But you're exactly the right thing. It's not about. And this is something we tell to our clients all the time. Is like, it's not what happens. It's not how you cheat on your diet. It's not when you miss training session. It's not when you feel shit. Those things are going to happen. Losses are part of a boxing career.
Yeah, of course.
It's how quickly you can put it behind you and get back moving again. Because that is, you know, that's the secret to getting past it and becoming a champion once again.
Yeah, without doubt. And it's just like, and again, that were a massive achievement for me, winning the British title. Because, you know, the Lonsdale belt, that's something I saw on TV. You know, watching like Friday fight nights, you know, when I were, you know, 13, 14 years old, and you always see that British title. So as a British fighter, as a professional fighter, that's your aim. So again, within a matter of 12 weeks, you know, I'd gone from like one of my lowest points to winning, to achieving something I'd always dreamed of. So that were a big lesson for me, as in like what you just said, as in just being positive. Being positive, believing in yourself, and sometimes even when you know you don't expect it at all, opportunities just come into your life.
Definitely.
Life-changing opportunities, you know, because again, not financially or anything like that, but me winning a British title, history books forever, you know. So that did, you know, that did, you know, change my life.
100%.
But then, you know, again, I didn't end, you know, my last fight didn't go to plan at all. Do you know what I mean? At all. So, you know, I mean, to be fair, I boxed an Olympic gold medalist in Galang Yafai. You know, that were, you know, obviously I were a massive underdog in that fight. It was just a fight that I couldn't really turn down because it were a big opportunity. Obviously, it were the biggest payday I've had in my career, but it were on a big platform, you know, in Birmingham Arena. So it was just a bit too good to turn down, and obviously I was a massive underdog going into that fight, but I ended up getting done in first round. He just caught me. He caught me Kong basically.
He stiffened up.
Yeah, you know, literally, you know, the first the first combination he threw, he jumped straight on me. The first combination he threw caught me, and I wasn't massively hurt, you know, like stumbling everywhere, but he just he hurt me, like he shook me.
He senses go essentially.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and they said you know, caught Kong. You know, not that I was Kong, but it's just that first shot in a fight.
Yeah, there's different levels of being hit. There's it where you go rigid. Your legs go basically. That's when you get knocked out. Yeah. There's the out cold where all light shuts off.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can just get stunned. You can get it with something.
He stunned me. The thing is, obviously, a good fight. Obviously, he knew he'd stunned me. So he jumped on me, and like I said, you know, my legs weren't all over the show, but my senses were kind of scrambled. So obviously, I was trying to ride the shots. in hindsight, I needed to tie him up. I needed to tie him up by some time.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of on the ropes, you know, riding the shot.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
But and then before I knew it, it were over. You know, obviously I weren't doing the things what I should have done, and Glyn saw that, and he threw the towel in. Gutted, bit embarrassed. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. Because as a fight, I mean, you know, thankfully, you know, I wasn't like poleaxed with one shot, and I didn't go out on a stretcher or, you know, knocked out cold or anything like that. But it's like your worst nightmare as a fight. You know, getting done in first round. It's a bit, you know, a bit embarrassing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what I thought after that last fight, and it kind of hurt me. But again,
who knows? You know, you've come back before. You've done it in the past. You've had that fire in the belly.
Yeah.
I've got a good sense that maybe in the future there will be a bit of a redemption fight coming on. But
I mean, the thing is, it's just not using it as an excuse. Again, you were an Olympic gold medalist. You know what I mean? I had to take the chance, but again, the weight. I weren't the best version of myself. Do you know what I mean? And again, you know, I probably should have moved up weight to a healthier weight a couple of years ago. But certain carrots being dangled, they keep you hanging on. You know, hindsight's great, but again, I just thought just making flyweight were just taking that little bit out of me, and I weren't quite. You know, when I won the Commonwealth title at super flyweight, I was 25. You know, I feel like physically, you know, I was probably the best I'd been then.
Yeah.
But again, not quite mentally. Do you know what I mean? I think if you could pair me up when I was 25 physically, and then mentally now, I'm not saying I made it mentally. I'm just saying I'm just better.
Yeah. There's a phrase.
Yeah.
The youth's wasted on the youth.
Yeah, that's it, innit? I just think if you could pair them up, you know, that'd be, you know, the best version of myself. But I'm not a woulda, coulda, shoulda. It is what it is.
Lessons learned kind of thing.
Lesson learned, lessons learned, yeah.
You seem to strike a really nice balance between like self-reflective and gracious in defeat, if that makes sense, because you know why you're reflective, you know,
I'm not one of them that will say, oh, you know, I could have done this if that had have happened, but guess what, it didn't, did it? So it is what it is, innit? But just be grateful. You know, I got opportunities like that, and you know, I suppose you've got to take it as face value, as you're the man in the arena, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So even though, you know, I'm probably still a little bit embarrassed about how that last fight goes, but I think in your head, it's probably a bigger deal than what it is.
100%.
Because especially at first, you feel like you walk down the street, you feel like everyone's watched fight and everyone's laughing at you. They're not. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you know, probably not that no one's bothered about it, but no one's that bothered that you lost a fight. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it takes a big man to talk about it as well and express how you feel, which is
first and foremost, it takes a big man step in that ring, mate. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So no one's gonna be, you know, no one's gonna be on the case of someone who steps in a ring and gets beaten. You've done the hardest part, which is train and step in that ring to say, again, I'm gonna have a scrap.
Yeah, but that's why boxing's cutthroat, you know, because the fans in boxing are very, very cutthroat. They can be very fickle.
Of course.
And you know, they talk about fighters, you know, like if a fighter gets stopped or knocked out, and you know, they might say some not very nice things about him, but at the end of the day, look what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? He's getting in that ring.
Yeah,
it's a big thing, especially when you box on big shows, and you know, and you're boxing the best fighters,
the best of the best. The
best of the best, and it's you know, sometimes fighters don't get the respect they deserve, but I think that maybe that's just the world that we live in, you know, sometimes.
Social media.
Social media.
Keyboard warriors.
That's the thing.
Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone thinks they could do better. No one's actually willing to do it.
That's the thing, innit? So I think nowadays, you know, social media, I just think just talk more positively about things. You know, it's like all you seem to hear is just there's negatives on everything, isn't there? But you know, people miss a lot of positives.
Though, you know, your names, as you mentioned, it's on that history book. It's on that title forever.
Yeah,
no one else's name is. You know, only the people who've stepped in that ring, got to the level you're at, put in the work you put in, are going to have that kind of accolade.
Yeah,
so.
of course.
And a bit of an obscure person to quote, but I saw a Gordon Ramsay quote where he said, "Take things professionally, not personally."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, 100%. It's very true. Yeah, and to be honest, you know, maybe with me, in a lot of ways, I'm probably not tough enough to be, as in like I needed thicker skin. Do you know what I mean? Because maybe you could take things a little bit personally. So, but that's just all learning. Depends what sort of person you are, doesn't it?
Of course.
I think a lot of boxers can kind of play a character as well.
Yeah.
Whether that's just to sell tickets or a bit of bravado and that.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas I could never really do that.
No.
I'm just me.
Yeah.
But sometimes that would probably not the best thing, but it is what it is, isn't it?
You can only be yourself.
Yeah.
Only be yourself, yeah.
Win or you learn, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add to this one, Bev?
No, just to really thank Tommy for his time, because I know you're a busy man. And yeah, obviously, same, you work at Station. Like, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and say, like, well done, ask you any questions?
Yeah,
where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram. I've got 2 Instagrams, at Super Tommy Frank, and I've got Super TF Boxing. So yeah, get the Super TF Boxing. That's more of my coaching, my PTs and stuff.
Great.
But it's good. Working alongside Brad, because I've been coaching boxing, and my personal training sessions are boxing based, and obviously I've done strength work and stuff as a boxer, but that's been everything to do with making me a better boxer. So looking on the other side, at the strength work and stuff, it's been good working alongside Brad and the other PTs, so they're helping me out a lot. I'm learning off them.
Great environment, you learn a lot,
brilliant.
and you're in a brilliant little network of people you can even bounce ideas off, chat to, and learn
definitely.
from. So couldn't agree more. Tommy, honestly, mate, thank you for coming down. Great to kind of, like I said, actually have a conversation with you now instead of passing at the gym.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining us on the Fit Desk podcast. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See you soon. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.